Do you like museum? I love museum. I really like the museum a lot. Okay. Uh, Museum is like I am very. I like history. Okay, and I like to know more about the history. Like basically is this thing that if I'm say there is a kind of like a something really the costume of soldier who is actually still available, that those soldier wear those costume in the World War II at particular war and particular things, and they still have this blood and things and war. And when I see that costume, I feel like that, yeah, I was there. Okay, it's not it just, it's kind of like a bring back that kind of like a something like memories. It just like I don't know, I just started imagine a lot. Okay, and like being connect with that historical things, like whatever it is, okay, the costume, the 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 sculpture, the painting, or whatever it is, I really love it. I wanted to admire that particular thing. And like basically is this thing, I still remember that when I went to a particular museum, I'm not really sure what is actually the name of that particular museum. They have Kshatrapati Shivaji Maharaj talwar, not specifically Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj talwar. Like they have kind of like a something like the weapon of the people who actually wear on that particular era. Okay, like this talwar is a far more heavy, like really heavy. Like let me tell you one thing. Okay, the things that you saw, like if I say Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, so he has kind of like a something like tarwal is in his hand. Okay, but probably when you see that particular talwar in real life, that talwar is like a really long. Okay, it's kind of like a something like that ki, it is long. Okay, the talwar is like really long. It kind of like a something really at the like little bit of height of bhala. Okay, what's a bhala? um Bhala is also kind of like a something like weapon. Okay, I'm not really sure about the English word, but yeah, it is like a really long talwar. Okay, as also they have kind of like a something like a safety, safety clothes. What's a safety clothes? So in the safety clothes, that means they have kind of like a something like armor. Okay, yeah, armor is a kind of like a something like very good word. Okay, so the entire armor is made up with a kind of like a something like iron and lots of things. Okay, and if I'm say the weight of that particular armor, just a chest part, it's almost like a 15 to 20 kilo. So can you imagine that, okay, the people who is actually wearing that particular armor in the war, it kind of like a something added a burden of that particular armor. It's been almost like a 20 kilo of thing on their chest. Okay, it's really heavy, really heavy. I just know how those people could kind of like a run with this thing, but still they run. Okay, and this is kind of like a something like I admire those. Okay, not only they have kind of like something like weapon and things like that, they have kind of like a something very common and kind of like a something really thing that you feel really amazed. Okay, like just an example is that ki, they have like like basically the equipment for grinding. What's a grinding? So we have kind of like a something like grinding, like basically we have something really that key, like basically this thing, if I wanted to make a roti, so you really required kind of like a something is soft powder. Okay, atta म्हणते ना, atta. Okay, so because like we convert, like basically we have grinding, in that grinding process the all those like wheat are converted into the powder. Okay, which is kind of like a something like very technological advanced machine. Okay, grinding process. But in that particular era they didn't really have that grinding machine. So what does they do? They have kind of like a something like two stone in between. So basically there is a one stone. Okay, then after that there is a two stone, another stone above that. Okay, what does they do is that the women actually put some sort of like the that grains. Okay, in center. Okay, so that grain is actually spread, and it kind of like a something really um, in between that particular stone. It's a very different mechanism how they works, I'm not really sure, but it's a really good. Okay. And then those women, that upper stone has to be rotate. Okay. Let me tell you one thing, the weight of that stone is almost like a 30 to 40 kilo, and the women rotate that particular that stone. Okay, that rounded stone, it's very different thing, dude. It's kind of like something that you feel like that ki, what the fuck, like older people have so much amount of power. Okay. And they do this like basically, if I'm gonna tell you the perspective of how much hard it is. Okay. So in this world, okay, if I wanted to kind of like a grind of 1 kilo of grain, it took me almost like a like couple of minutes, that's it, max to max 2 3 minutes. Okay. But in that particular era, if I wanted to grind that particular 1 kilo of grain, it took me almost like at least 4 to 5 hour, more than that. Okay. 4 to 5 hour, and you just have to grind, you just have to rotate that particular stone. The it's I don't know how does they do that, but they do that, dude. And it's like, what the fuck, it's like really heavy. Okay. Like basically I did rotate that thing. Okay. And it's far more heavier than it is. Like basically it's a made of stone, and it's like it's way much heavy, really required like a basically it felt me that key it really required like I'm pulling two dumbbells at the same time. Okay. It is too much heavy. Okay. And it won't be done in one hand, you really required to hold, you really required kind of like a something power from two hands to rotate that entire stone. And bhai, it is like a, it is really difficult. How does women does that? It's really difficult. As also the cutlery means like bhande. Okay, what's a bhande? Bhande, like na bhande, like I'm not really sure about the English word. It's a kind of like a something like the bowl and plate and this and that. Everything is bigger, like everything. Like basically we have a plate. Okay. It's kind of like a something like 10 to 15 centimeter diameter. Okay. Or at least almost like a 20 centimeter diameter, or 40 centimeter diameter. Okay. This kind of like a something perspective that you understand what is actually the length of today's plate. Okay. But when you went to the museum and you kind of like a something like that, this is the plate that people actually ate the dinner or lunch over there. Okay. And this plate is like really big, like basically almost like a at least 1 foot radius. That means like the diameter of that particular plate is almost like a 2 feet. 2 feet means almost like the entire human can sit on that particular plate. It's that big plate. Okay. And they have this and they have that, and this plate is like it's also that much heavy. Like bhai, like this is so heavy. Okay. But there is also another thing is that the way that they craft. Okay. Like every small details, like basically let me tell you one thing, these are the very heavy, very big, very kind of like a something like that key, you won't be able to do kind of like a something like karagiri on that stuff. What's the karagiri? Karagiri is like kind of like a something really that छन्नी का and छन्नी और हथौड़े से एक तरह से like कारीगर करते हैं ना, this is kind of like a something stuff to make them shape. Okay. They have that kind of like a something shape. Okay. Which is like really difficult. Like let me tell you one thing, we have this stamping process. What's the stamping process? So in that stamping process, if I wanted to create a shape on particular plate, so basically we have a mold. Okay. Like in the factory we have a mold of that particular shape. Okay. So basically whatever the stainless plate came in. Okay. And that mold is actually pressed on that plate. So basically whatever the shape that mold has, it kind of like a print on that plate. Okay. And then rest of the part cut, and that is called kind of like a something stamping process. Okay. If you wanted to more about this thing, so you just have to go to Google, YouTube, find out this thing. It's a very easy process. Okay. This is what we do. Okay. Like as a stamping process, like basically has a kind of like a something, put some sort of it's a stamping process, you realize that. Okay. but in that particular era they didn't really have stamping process. Okay, so every shape that they have or that they craft, they crafted that shape by manually. Yeah, manually they crafted this shape. Like it is like, I don't know how does they do that, but it is like it is really difficult. Let me tell you one thing, that how does people do that. Like basically, in fourth standard, I still remember that in fourth standard we have kind of like something like assignment at the school, that we have to kind of like create some sort of sculpture by the clay. Okay, it's a standard for some sort of assignment, you already done that thing. Okay, like I was not really good at this thing. Like I try to make the ganpati from the clay, but I won't be able to do that. And when I make it, it's a very very kind of like a very fragile, and it's like that ki कभी कभी पैर निकल जाता है, मुंडकी निकल जाती है. It's really very difficult process. Okay, and by the way, this is the clay that I was using was a very wet. Okay, it's not that kind of like a full of solid, it's very wet, but still I won't be able to make it properly. Okay, but the people, like basically on that particular historical area, the people who try to make that particular shape by the channi and hatoda, and basically this entire clay is not a clay, it's a stone, by the way. It's a rigid stone. If you fucked up one thing, then entire thing is fucked up. Okay, it's not kind of like a something that rough work and you fucked up and you try it again. No, like basically when अगर आपने हल्का सा काम करते करते अगर से नाक तोड़ दी तो खत्म, वो पूरा स्टैचू बर्बाद हो गया. आपने कितना भी अच्छा काम किया, वो स्टैचू हो गया बर्बाद. It's like that, dude. It is like that. So I don't know how does they do that, but when I went to museum, I just kind of like a feel really wow when I kind of like a see this thing, and it's like really really incredible. Like going to the museum and understanding this and that, it felt me, I was like I was try to compare the life that we have and life that they have, and how does they do that, a kind of like a small things. And it is like really very very different thing, but I really love the museum. I really love the museum. Next question.